the Smith & Wesson SD9 VE. Let's check it out. Now, Smith & Wesson offered the SD9 VE as a budget option. Not quite as expensive as your M&Ps, and really they've upgraded this really well over the original Sigma series. The Smith & Wesson SD9 VE. You know, it took me a little while to figure out how to say that, but one of the easiest ways is what it stands for. This is a Smith & Wesson SD for Self Defense 9mm VE for value enhanced, and this actually is a predecessor to the Sigma series, which, guys, I'll tell you, the Sigma has been plagued with a lot of bad publicity, mainly due to the incredibly terrible 10-pound trigger. And I've never really, I've shot a number of the Sigmas, but for some reason, once they took the Sigma and they took the Smith & Wesson SW series, and then they upgraded it, and this is just the best of all the above. It is a much nicer pistol overall than your Sigmas or your SWs. You know, not quite where the M&P is, because the M&P is really their premium line. This is made for those who want to spend around the $300, $350 range for a really nice pistol that's accurate, that's reliable, and that is well made. And that's what we have here. So before we get started, we're going to drop the magazine and make sure the gun is unloaded. It is a chrome-plated, really nice, very slick magazine. 16-in-1, and have 16-in-1 here. It does come with 2 magazines, which some of the predecessors only came with 1 to keep the price down. Which, you know, the thing about these, and I'll tell you guys right up front, I looked on Academy. These are running $299.99 right now. That is a fantastic price for a really high quality polymer Smith & Wesson handgun. The Sigma itself has been around since 1994, and these were actually introduced in 2011. So the SD9 VE has been around for a little while. There are some things about this pistol, though, that have been upgraded that I think is a pretty big improvement over the original Sigma series. First off is the trigger pull. Now, I'm not a big fan of this trigger. I'll just tell you up front. It is around an 8.5 pound trigger pull, but the original Sigmas and SWs were about 10 pounds. It was just way too much. The reason why they have this 8.5 pound trigger is because it's called their self-defense trigger. It's not made to be a lightweight trigger. It's really made for the beginner to be able to take and just have the confidence when they pull that trigger, they mean to pull it. And so that is really the theory behind this. Another big improvement to me is the grip texturing. It's very well done. It has really little pyramids, checks right here that are fairly aggressive, not too rough, and then right here on the side. I really like this. It's really a nice grip. On the Sigmas, there's no difference in the grip angle, but I like this checkering. It just looks better. It has a better look to it, and I guess that's where VE comes into play, value enhanced. But it's definitely much more designed, and the finish is better. Also on the slide itself, I think the slide has been really improved. The finish on this slide is really exceptional. I would not necessarily, just looking at this pistol, put it in the budget category. because of just really a lot of the quality. You do have your serrations at the front, which are new, and then serrations, of course, in the back. And these are, the angle is, they're wider spaced. They're very easy to grab hold of, and it makes it nice. Now, the sights themselves are a 3-dot sight. The rear is a polymer sight, but it does have a shelf for cocking, and it is easy on the belt to be able to cock this with a one-handed reload. The front sight is steel, and you can see it's dovetailed in, so you can get replaceable sights for these. This is also a 4-inch barrel, and I think originally the Sigmas were a 4.5-inch barrel, so it brings the size down just a touch. Now typically I'll have like a Glock 19 to compare to this for size, but just guys, I'll tell you, it's pretty much the same as far as dimensions. It's a 7-inch in length, it's 5 inches in height, and it's about 1.2 inches in width. I love the stream clean sides. It's one of the things about the Glock to me that has made it such a success. And it does have the same Glock style with the takedown levers, which we're going to look at in a minute. But the slide release here is kind of flat and close to the frame. One of the things I found with some of the pistols, in fact some really high quality pistols that I really like, is that you can inadvertently, while you're getting a two-handed grip, hit that mag release on the last round and still have it, in the closed position, which this does not. Now, another thing too, I like these little pads. It's just a place to remind you to put your finger, and it gives you just a little bit of texturing right there. Also, the Picatinny rail they have at the bottom is a little bit different than what they had originally with the Sigmas and the SWs. It has a nice satin finish, and the engraving is laser engraved all the way across, and then of course Smith & Wesson here on the other side. Of course, these are made right here in the US. Now you can see there are no external safeties like all the Glocks and a lot of the other polymer frame pistols. The safety, there's a trigger safety right here. In fact, this safety, the trigger has to actually be engaged or it'll lock on this little piece right here. Now the trigger itself, it has one of those pivot triggers, different from the standard Glock. And we're going to look at the way this trigger functions, and then we're going to check the trigger pull. It is a long take up, almost like a double action striker. I mean, it is a long take up. And reset is also long, but it's audible. And one of the things, especially with the early M&Ps even, you couldn't hear the reset. So at least it kind of brings it out and you have a reset. Okay, we're going to check the trigger pull. About 8.5 pounds. I got that pretty consistently doing it a number of times. It would go anywhere from 8 pounds 10 ounces, and then really around the 8.5 pound. That's a big difference from the original 10 pounds. But I'll tell you, one of the problems that I faced, the gun is very accurate. I mean, shooting it, and it just seemed to put it all in the same spot. But with the long trigger, there were a couple of times when I was doing my accuracy test where I had a couple to go down to the left, and it was kind of funny. I had 2 of them to do that, but it's just something about, you bring it back and you get that long, you're squeezing, and it just seems to sometimes surprise you because it takes a little bit longer. One of the things to remedy that, and really honestly the only thing about this gun that I really don't care for, is this trigger. And because of that, one of the best options is the Apex trigger, which is really nice. They cost about $20–25 with shipping, and that's what I paid for this. I went ahead and ordered it because I knew I was going to put it in, and I'll have a video on that installation. There is a loaded chamber indicator right here at the top, and with a round in here you can see it right through the hole. So it's not obtrusive, but with that, it's also not tactile, so you have to actually visually check it. The weight of the pistol, with the magazine included, 22.6 ounces. To break the pistol down, of course, remove your magazine. You're going to double check to make sure the gun is unloaded. Pull back and pull the tabs down right here on the side, and then you have to pull the trigger. Here we have the recoil spring, guide rod, and of course the barrel comes right out. And as you can see, very similar to the Glock. Now this one obviously hasn't been cleaned, and I've put about 300 rounds through this pistol. And you know, you have your normal, but as you can see, I mean, it's very close to the same design as the Glock. In fact, you know, Sigma went through a pretty good lawsuit with Glock because of some of the patent infringements that they considered. It was settled out of court. That's all you need to do to field strip. Now to reassemble, just go in reverse order. Drop in your recoil spring. One of the things about your guide rod is it is plastic. But for this kind of price, you can't beat it. And that's it, guys. You're ready to go. Put your magazine in, and you're ready for the range. I want to thank Federal Premium for supplying the American Eagle 9mm. Good shooting stuff. And we shot about 300 rounds today. It was a lot of fun. At the range, there were no hiccups with reliability. I mean, it just fed everything flawlessly. Shot about 300 rounds through it. The trigger definitely is a little different, but it's something that you can easily adapt to. I mean, it's consistent, and that really makes it nice. Probably more similar to the old M&P, definitely much better than the original Sigma. But at 8.5 pounds, it's a little more than what I'm used to. So it took me a little bit of getting used to it at the range, but didn't take long to start hitting that steel very easily. The recoil is just really nice. The gun handles well. The grip angle was nice. The texturing on the grip really helped with keeping control of the pistol.
I like it.
The F&S is 17-in-1.
It's like you said, Rock. It's got a long trigger pull. But you know, I like the grips are great. The cut striations are easy to grip.
I liked everything about it but the trigger, and there's a trigger kit, and I think it was a firing pin kit that are both like 30 bucks that you can find on YouTube, and the guys say it makes a world of difference on them.
Well, the one thing that they really promote with that, because of the trigger, it's not a manufacturing thing. They want it to be about 8 pounds because you're not quick on the trigger.
Okay.
So for an inexperienced shooter, they've got to really mean to pull that trigger.
They got to want it.
And in a high stress situation, you know, you got a lot of adrenaline that could be possibly you fire it before you mean to. This will kind of negate some of that, and that's the reason for the little bit heavier trigger.
I like that. They got a little. I didn't even notice that. They got a small rail head on it too. That's
But
great
the
for a
ergonomics
light.
to me are great on that little
The
pistol.
grip.
The looks of the gun, the feel of it, the weight and balance, everything about it, but the trigger I like about it. And I always said, you know, 300 bucks you can get 2 of these for the cost of a Glock.
I mean, it's made to sell in a good market, you know, just for someone that's just getting introduced to a pistol.
But I think, honestly, you get used to the trigger. I think you can grow into it.
I mean, I think that, you know, this is one, and it's accurate.
Well, you know, if you're talking low price, you got that. You call that a compact or a full size?
It's kind of like a 19. A little bit,
Yeah.
Not really a subcom.
So you got that for 300. You got the Sky for 250, much smaller. So it's kind of preference. You know what you want.
The Sky's about as thick as that, though, isn't it?
But that's a lot
chunky,
of
isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing about the Sky is, though, it's double action only. So the trigger's like, which is fine.
Well,
that's what it's
about
made
what
for.
this feels like.
So guys, if you're looking for a less expensive option, I think that the SD9 VE is an excellent choice. And guys, I'll tell you, for 300 bucks, it's really hard to beat. And it's reliable, it's fairly accurate. I think the only thing is you get that trigger fixed and it's going to be about perfect. So for the price you're putting into it, a great gun for someone that's, again, on a budget. Maybe you just want an extra gun, or for those that are just beginning to shoot and they really don't want to spend $500–600 on a pistol. The Smith Wesson SD9 VE is a great little choice. So the Smith Wesson SD9 VE, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. about the Smith & Wesson SV9, the SV9 VE. Actually, we didn't shoot it today. This is pre-recorded.
I was going to say that I missed the shoot. Where was I?
Man, we didn't even shoot today. I guess maybe this was the other day. The trigger, as you can see, it has one of the two pivot triggers, two-stage. Okay. There is a chamber indicator right here. Just take your time.
Anytime?
Just enjoy it.
Anytime?
Keep me from looking fat in the videos. My kid's ringtone.
Hey,